Namaste, welcome to the class. We are studying the modern dance and especially modern dance in USA. For any dance style, after learning, one area is first to learn and then it is performing. So in that sense, outside the world and even today in India, you have the dance schools and the companies. So we will now look into the dance schools and companies in America. One of the first ones to be started was the Denishon School of Dancing and Related Arts, founded in 1915 by Ruth St. Denis and Ted Shawn in Los Angeles, California. It helped many perfect their dancing talents and become the first dance academy in the United States to produce a professional dance company. Some of the school's more notable pupils include Martha Graham, Doris Humphrey, Lillian Powell, Charles Weidman, Jack Cole, and the silent film star Louise Brooks. The school was specially renowned for its influence on the ballet and experimental modern dance. In time, Denishon teachings reached another school location as well, Studio 61 at the Carnegie Hall Studios. The technique classes at the first Denishon school was housed in a Spanish-style mansion on top of a hill in Los Angeles. There were two spaces reserved for technique classes, an indoor studio where St. Denis primarily taught, and an outside ballroom for yoga, meditation, and Ted Shawn's various dance classes, ballet, ballroom, and what would you later be called as the Denishon technique. $500 covered the cost of a 12-week program that included daily technique classes, room and board, arts and crafts, and guided reading lessons. It's a dream that one can think today. When taking technique classes, students danced in the bare feet and wore identical one-piece black wool bathing suits. Classes lasted 3 hours every morning. Ted Shawn typically taught during the first block of time, leading students to the stretches, limbering exercises, ballet bar, and floor progressions, and free from center combinations. Ruth St. Denis then took over with instructions in Oriental and yoga techniques. Author and former Denishon pupil Jane Sherman recalls an everyday class laden with ballet terminology. She says, a typical Denishon class began at the bar. First came stretching, pirouettes in grand battements, a series of pliés in 5 positions, 16 measures of grand rendezvous, jumbos and jumps, 32 measures of petites, rendezvous, jamboués. These might be followed by slow reveals in arabesque, fast changes, anticha, and exercises to prepare for pirouettes. In short, the works. After ballet arm exercise out on the floor, we next work to perfect and develop our entourment, our attitudes, out renzoir, and our grand geste. So, as you see, the basic training of modern dance in Denishon was a lot ballet, and at that point in 1920s, even yoga was introduced. In the Danishon company, each pupil danced alone a series of pas de basque, the Danishon version, the ballet, the Spanish and the Hungarian. The Danishon pas de basque was distinguished by arms held high and parallel overhead as the body made an extreme arch sideways towards the leading foot. Next, usually came a free, open, excessive, affectionately nicknamed arms and body, done to a waltz from Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty. A forerunner of the technical warm-ups now used in many modern dance schools, it started with feet placed far apart and pressed flat on the floor. With a slow swinging of the body into ever increasing circles came head, shoulders and torso rolls, the arms sweeping from the floor to the ceiling. After a relaxed run around the circumference of the studio, we ended in a back fall. We might then sit down to practice Javanese arm movements, do hand stretches to force our western fingers backwards into some semblance of Cambodian flexibility. The class always closed with the learning of another part of a dance, based on the theory that one learns to perform by performing. Dance exercises were essential elements in Danishon training, and some of them were so professionally interesting that they became part of the concert repertory. One school in Massachusetts has continued to teach Danishon dance for over 50 years. The Marion Rice Studio of the Dance in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, educated students and performed Danishon dances for the local community as well as at the Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival in 1972, at Marymount Manhattan College in 78, in New York City College Roots Festival 86 and the 2000 Millennium Dance Festival in Washington DC. The repertory and performances of Danishon school were very interesting. The Danishon dancers took advantage of many performance opportunities in colleges, in concert halls, vaudeville theatres, convention centers and also outdoor stadiums. Beside being invited to perform in venues like New York's Palace Theatre in 1916, Danishon was the first American company to present serious Western dance in Japan, Burma, China, India, Ceylon, Java, Malaya and the Philippines during 1925 and 26. In some ways, the presented works resembled ballet. Each piece was a full company story with elaborate costumes, sets and lighting. In terms of movement, however, the differences were obvious: no point shoes, no pas de deux lifts, no exact format for patterning solos and ensemble pieces. Most of the Danishon works fall into one of the four categories, that is, one is Orientalia. Chronologically, these were the first true Danishon works. Saint Denis was responsible for the majority of these pieces, though Sean did put together a small number of Oriental solos and group dances. As their title suggests, these pieces incorporate aspects of Eastern Indian movement, dress and environment in the form of set design. A particularly famous work from this period is Ruth Saint Denis's Radha, a mini ballet set in a Hindu temple in which an exotic woman dances to honor the five senses. Then second is Americana. While Ruth St. Denis found her most powerful inspiration in the Far East, Shawn seemed to find it in his in the cultures of America. His works dominate the American series, complete with musical scores by American composers and portrayals of American characters like cowboys, Indians, and ball players. Shawn's comic pantomime, Danse Americaine, for example, centers on a soft shoe dancer acting as a baseball player. Then the third is music visualizations. Inspired by Isadora's approach to music, Ruth St. Denis developed the music visualization, which she defined as the scientific translation into bodily action of the rhythmic, melodic and harmonious structure of a musical composition without intention to in any way interpret or reveal any hidden meaning apprehended by the dancer. Meaning, movement was set strictly to the music without reading into anything emotionally. If the music swells, the body swells. If the music grows quiet, the body becomes to rest. St. Denis's soaring, set on 5 female dancers, is arguably her most well known music visualization. And then there is miscellaneous, also known as Denishon divertissement. These shorter works included those that cannot fit neatly into the pigeonholes of Oriental, Americana and music visualization. These works were reserved for performances that did not require presentations of full length ballets. Mary Denishon solo works remain in the active repertoire of many companies. Their solos are of special interest to many for their exotic qualities. Several of their solos were included in The Art of the Solo, presented at the Baltimore Museum of Art in September 2006. These included 3 revival premieres, namely Shawn's Invocation to the Thunderbird 1916, Last Dance by Denishon dancer John Dogtry and The Death of Adonis in 1922. Both were recreated by Mino Nicholas, program curator, with the aid of film, written accounts and photographs. Also featured were the revival premieres of Ruth St. Denis's The Peacock, A Legend of India, done in 1906, which was recreated using the same methods. Her signature solo, The Incense, will also be performed by Cynthia Ward of Washington, D.C. Due to marital problems of Ruth St. Denis and Ted Shawn and financial difficulties, Denishon concluded in 1929. Consequently, Shawn went on to form an all-male dance company made up of athletes he taught at Springfield College in Massachusetts. Shawn's mission in creating this company was to fight for acceptance of the American male dancer and to bring awareness of the art form from a male perspective. The all-male company was based out of the farm that Shawn purchased near his hometown, Lee, Massachusetts. On July 14, 1933, Ted Shawn and his men dancers had their premiere performance at Shawn's farm, which would later be known as Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival. This festival is world renowned and almost all dancers from anywhere, any part of the globe dream of going and performing there. Shawn produced some of his most innovative and controversial choreography to date with this company, such as Ponca Indian dance, Sinhalese David dance, Maori war haka, Hopi Indian eagle dance, Dyak spear dances, and kinetic molpai. Through this creative work, Sean showed athletic and masculine movement that soon would gain popularity. The company performed in the United States and Canada, touring more than 750 cities in addition to the international successes in London and in Havana. Ted Sean and his men dancers concluded at Jacob's Pillow on August 31st, 1940 with a homecoming performance. During the years of the company, Shaw's love for the relationships created by the men in his dances soon translated into love between himself and one of his company members, Barton Mumau, which lasted from 1931 to 1948. One of the leading stars of the company, Barton Mumau, would emerge onto the dance industry and be considered the American Nijinsky. While with Sean, Mumau began a relationship with a John Christian, a stage manager for the company. Instead of exploring the domesticity, Mumau introduced Sean to Christian. Later, Sean formed a partnership with John Christian, with whom he stayed from 1949 until his death in 1972. With this new company came the creation of Jacob's Pillow, a dance school, retreat and theatre. The facilities also hosted teas, which over time became the Jacob's Pillow's Dance Festival. Sean also created the School of Dance for Men around this time, which helped promote male dance in the college nationwide. Another important name in the early years of American modern dance and even today is Martha Graham. And let us look into Martha Graham Dance Company. It was founded in 1926. It is known for being the oldest American dance company. Martha Graham, as a contemporary dance company, it continued to perform pieces, revive classics and train dancers even after Graham's death in 1991. The company is critically acclaimed in the artistic world and has been recognized as one of the great dance companies of the world by the New York Times and as one of the 7 wonders of the artistic universe by the Washington Post. Many of the great 20th and 21st century modern dancers and choreographers began at the Martha Graham Dance Company, including Merce Cunningham, Erick Hawkins, Pearl Lang, Pascal Rioult, Anna Sokolov and Paul Taylor. The repertoire of 181 works also includes guest performances from Mikhail Baryshnikov, Claire Bloom, Margot Fonteyn, Liza Minnelli, Rudolf Nureyev, Maya Pletskia and Kathleen Turner. Her style and technique, the Graham technique, is recognized in 50 different countries. Graham began teaching in her studio at the 66th Fifth Avenue near 13th Street and at the neighborhood playhouse. Here she taught her special dance technique to the women who would become the first members of her dance company. They would practice new works for 9 months and then give recitals in New York and abroad. During the years of 1938 and 39, men also joined the troupe. Later on, financial troubles would plague the country. At these times, Graham was supported by individual patrons. One of the contributors, Mrs. Wallace, made it possible for Martha Graham's Center of Contemporary Dance find its current home in the 316 East 63rd Street. After Martha Graham's death, the company ran into financial and legal troubles. In her will, Graham left her legacy to Ron Protas, giving him all rights to her choreography. His dispute with the board of directors came in the midst of financial troubles and talks of closing down the dance center. Protas responded by refusing to allow the company to perform Graham's work. This legal battle was fueled by the company's recent dry spell. Public funding had been cut for a few decades, but after Graham's death, private investors began holding out as well. The company performed on and off for the next decade. In 2000, the company cancelled performances for the year and came close to bankruptcy. By 2004, the company began to perform again after 2 Supreme Court cases with Ron Protas, both of which the company won. The Martha Graham Dance Company continues to both perform Graham's works and creates new ones based on the technique she developed. Early works are a part of the long woolen period and includes works such as Primitive Mysteries and El Penitent. Later, Graham turned to America for inspiration and created works such as American Document, American Provincials, Appalachian Spring, Letter to the World, Salem Shore. Later, she turned to Hebrew and Greek mythology for the Cave of the Heart, Night Journey, Errand into the Maze, Judith, the Witch of Endor, Hadria, Clytemnestra. Her later works reflected her retirement as they stopped including a main heroine and focused on the more abstract concept. All of these works are still included in the company's repertoire and are occasionally performed. In the current company in 2005, Janet Elibert became artistic director and Danis Well took the position of senior artistic associate. In 2015, the principal dancers included Tadej Bradnik, Piju Chian Pot, Carrie Elmore Terish, Lloyd Knight, Maria Dashkina Madux and Blackley White Magur. Soloists include Abidil Jacobson, Ben Schulz and Ziochun Zai. Dancers include Natasha M. Diamond Walker, Charlotte Landreau, Lloyd Mayer, Ari Mazik, Laurie Newman, Lorenzo Pagano, Lucy Postel and Youngzin. Next, we look at the Humphrey-Weidman Dance Company. Humphrey-Weidman is a modern dance technique consisting of fall and recovery, losing and regaining equilibrium that was invented by Doris Humphrey and Charles Weidman. In 1928, Humphrey and Weidman founded a dance school to teach their technique and a dance company to perform. Both were disbanded by Humphrey in 1940s. Jose Limon Dance Company is also very prominent. Upon attaining American citizenship in 1946, Limo performed the Limo Dance Company, he formed the Limo Dance Company. When Limon began his company, he asked Humphrey to be the artistic director, making it the first modern dance company to have an artistic director who was not also the founder. The company had its formal debut at Bennington College, playing such pieces as Doris Humphrey's Lament and The Story of Mankind. Among the first members were Pauline Conner, Lucas Hoving, Betty Jones, Ruth Courier and Limon himself. Dancer and choreographer Luis Falco also danced with the Jose Limon Dance Company from 1960 to 70, and Falco started opposite to Rudolph Nureyev in Limon's Moor's Pavane on Broadway from 74-75. While working with Humphrey, Limon developed his repertoire with Doris Humphrey and established the principles of the style that was to become the Limon technique. By 1947, the company had reached New York, debuting at the Belasco Theatre with Humphrey's Day on Earth. In 1948, the company first appeared at the Connecticut College American Dance Festival and would remain in residence each summer for many years. After choreographing the Moor's Pavane, it received the Dance Magazine Award for the year's most outstanding choreography. In the spring of 1950, Limon and his group appeared in Paris with Ruth Page, becoming the first American modern dance company to appear in Europe. In 1951, Jose Limon joined the faculty of the Juilliard School, where a new dance division had been developed. He also accepted an invitation to Mexico City's Instituto Nacional de Ballet Arts, where he created 6 works. Between 1953 and 1956, choreographed a number of shows and created roles in Humphrey's Ruins and the Visions and Ritmo Jondo. In 1954, the Limon Company was one of the first to take advantage in USA State Department's International Exchange Program with a company tour to South America. The company later embarked on a 5-month tour of Europe and the Near East, and again to South America and Central America. It was during this time that Limon received his second Dance Magazine Award. In 1958, Doris Humphrey, who had been the artistic director for the Jose Limon Company, died and Limon took over her position. Between 1958 and 60, that's 2 years, Limon choreographed with Pauline Conner. During this time, he received an honorary doctorate from Wesleyan University. In 1962, the company returned to Central Park as the opening performance to New York's Shakespeare Festival. The next year, under sponsorship of the US State Department, he toured the Far East for 12 weeks, choreographing the Demon to a score by Paul Handel-Smith, who conducted the premiere. In 1964, he went on to receive the Capazio Award and was appointed the artistic director of the American Dance Theatre at the Lincoln Center. The following year, Limon appeared in an NET special titled The Dance Theatre of Jose Limon. A few years later, he established the Jose Limon Dance Foundation as a non-profit corporation and received an honorary doctorate from the University of North Carolina. In 1966, after performing with the company at the Washington Cathedral, Lincoln received a government grant of $23,000 from the National Endowment for the Arts. The next year, Limon choreographed some earning him an honorary doctorate from Colby College. He and his company were also invited to perform at the White House for the President Lyndon B. Johnson and King Hassan II of Morocco. Limours' final appearances on stage as a dancer were in 1969 when he performed in The Traitor and the Moor's Pavane at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. He created 2 more pieces during this time and received an honorary doctorate from Oberlin. What a dream for an Indian choreographer to receive 4 honorary doctorates from various colleges. And what choreographer that he could create so many beautiful and sensible works. Hope you are all inspired by these stories of great masters. Thank you.